Carolina Tar Heels have jumped off to a 12-0 start. We're just under the 18-minute mark of the first half. Every Carolina starter has scored thus far. 2 3-pointers, one by Kenny Smith, one by Joe Wolf, and 2-pointers by Lebo, Thompson, and J.R. Reed, and Antoine Joubert misses the first end of a 2-shot free throw. Joe Wolf did start the game despite a badly sprained ankle. UNC is 5 of 6 in the field, and Joubert finally ends the Michigan drought. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Vern Lundquist, along with Bill Cunningham. And this Carolina team, which is the #1 seed in the East, has really gotten off to a quick start. 12-1 right now. Dave Popson on Antoine Joubert will set the starting lineups in a bit. There's J.R. Reed, and guard Thompson comes down with a Michigan rebound. Antoine Joubert up and off the glass and in. It's 12-3 Carolina.
Well, to start off with, everyone was wondering how Carolina would start this game because they have been struggling coming out of the starting blocks. They've come out very strong.
It opened with Jeff Lebo hitting a shot, then Dave Popson, then J.R. Reed. Kenny Smith hit a 3-pointer, then Joe Wolf. And here's the turnover as Thompson gets it to Gary Grant. Good. And just like that, it's a 12-5 game with 17:05 to go first half.
Well, this Michigan team has been playing outstanding ball the last 2 games, beating Purdue at home and then beating Navy in the last game.
Gary Grant, who's a defensive gem, didn't get away with the steal. They called the foul. The Michigan lineup: Glenn Rice, a sophomore at forward, Antoine Joubert, the senior, Mark Hughes, a sophomore, Gary Grant, a junior, and guard Thompson, a senior. And for North Carolina, Dave Popson, Joe Wolf, J.R. Reed, Jeff Lebo, and Kenny Smith in the backcourt. First substitution of the game now. Scott Williams, the outstanding freshman from Hacienda Heights, California, checks in for Dave Popson.
This creates a matchup problem for Michigan because Antoine Joubert is going to have to play either Williams or Jeff or Joe Wolf. And that's going to be a serious problem. I would expect Carolina to look to go inside. He's going to play Williams, the freshman.
Matter of fact, they look toward Williams, and Joubert is on him 6'5" against 6'11". Bounce pass, turnover, Michigan ball.
That's a bad pass by J.R. Reed down around the ankles of the big man, Williams.
Bill Frieder in his 7th season as the head coach at Michigan. Now the second all-time winningest coach in Michigan history behind Johnny Orr.
But now we come to this end, and now Williams has got to chase after the quicker Joubert, who's posted him up.
Joubert doesn't get the roll, the tip. And finally, Mark Hughes, who doesn't score all that often for Michigan.
Well, this has been a game of runs. Carolina with a 12-point run, and now Michigan with a 7-point run.
12-7, just under 16 or 16-10 to go. Jump hook, goaltending.
You know, that jump hook, you'll see all the Carolina big people use that shot. That's something Dean Smith teaches.
16:05 to go, 14-7, Carolina on top. Gary Grant guarded by Kenny Smith. That's a matchup you'll love watching all day. Blocking foul, Jeff Lebo, number 14.
Well, Bill Frieder just gives Gary Grant the option. He decides what to do against the traps. He has such confidence in him. He believes that he can break any trap that Carolina will throw at him.
That's the second team foul on North Carolina. Another substitution now. Steve Bucknall, number 20 from London, England, comes in and replaces Joe Wolf.
I'll be very interested to see how Joe Wolf comes back into this game after that sprained ankle, because the tendency is it stiffens up when you sit down.
Underneath, goaltending again, other direction. That's on Scott Williams.
Excellent ball movement by Michigan.
For those of you who don't know the story, Joe Wolf sprained his right ankle and sprained it rather badly in practice yesterday afternoon. Was listed as doubtful, and he tried it in warm-up, said, I think I can go, and Dean Smith gave him the go-ahead. Lebo for 3, no. Long rebound, Glenn Rice, who's a demon on the defensive boards. Guard Thompson, 3-pointer. Foul by Lebo, his second foul, third team foul, and Thompson shoots a couple.
Well, guard Thompson, that's his shot. He just filled it up in the last game.
Had 9 of 12 in the win over Navy the other night. 7 of 9 from three-point range at the halftime. Here's Ranzino Smith, number 33, and Lebo is out. In the first game here, Notre Dame edged TCU by 1, 58-57. They meet the winner of this game in East Rutherford, New Jersey next week. And Thompson gets the first to go. Guard Thompson had a career high of 33 points in the win the other night. 9 of 12 from three-point range. And it's a 14-11 game.
Now, one thing we'll see in this ball game, this game will be decided, it'll be in the 90s. I guarantee you that.
3 points. Got it.
He's the key to this Carolina ball club. When Kenny Smith is aggressive offensively, it just seems to ignite the Carolina team, both offensively and defensively.
17-11, 15-12 to go first half.
I guess that's why he's an All-American.
Could be. Up, they miss Thompson underneath. Chabert resets, looks for the screen from Mark Hughes, heads right. Pulls up, back to Rice, who pops out and takes the jumper, too strong. Rebound, Ranzino Smith to Kenny Smith. He's got J.R. Reed to his right. Goes left instead to Bucknall, back to Scott Williams. And a foul underneath on Antoine Chabert. Let's get you up to date on what's going on around the country in the second round of the NCAA. UNLV defeats Kansas State 80-61. Their 20th consecutive. They've had only one loss this year. Duke stays alive in the ACC. They join Michigan, or rather North Carolina is the only 2 ACC teams still active. And they down Xavier 65-60. Dave Popson back in the lineup now. Inbounds play to Steve Bucknall, who's a defensive whiz, not that much of an offensive threat.
But he ignited this team in the last game against Penn. He was the one that came out and really got them aggressive at the defensive end of the court and made a few hoops to get them started.
Kenny Smith, charging foul, yes.
And what did he do? He left his feet. Cannot leave your feet offensively when you're driving in the lane.
Elsewhere in the NCAA tournament today, Indiana, in the opener of our triple header, defeated Auburn 107-90 as Steve Alford had 31. And the game some of you saw earlier here, Notre Dame's David Rivers hit the front end of a 2-shot free throw to give Notre Dame a 1-point edge over Notre Dame or TCU with 4 seconds to go. Gary Grant pulls up, fires underneath off Popson's hands, then off Hughes, and it'll be Carolina's ball.
What did Gary Grant do? Left his feet.
Bill Frieder with the ever-present towel. 17-11, 14-18 to go first half.
Now, when you play against Carolina and you're sitting over there where Bill Frieder is, you have to be most concerned with the Carolina spurts.
Bucknall for 2. 19-11.
Because they have the ability, as they did against Penn, they ran off a 34-7 spurt to start the second half. And you have to keep control. If, you know, Bill Frieder said to us yesterday, hey, I might have to use 3 or 4 timeouts in the first half just to keep control of the game. You know, Carolina's playing, you can't call this a neutral court. Carolina has played 84 games here, and they've won 75 of them.
Grant Rice gets 2. That 75-9 record is under Dean Smith here at the Charlotte Coliseum in the last 26 years. That's home cooking. Well, scoring.
Yeah, and there's one useless thing here today. The 45-second
foul away from the ball. What did they get? Ranzino Smith?
No, I think it was David Popson.
It was. Well, if you joined us late, North Carolina jumped off to a 12-0 edge. It's now 19-13. Look at the play again.
Well, take a look in the right-hand, bottom right-hand part of your screen. Popson pushing off on Rice with that left hand.
Now Gary Grant joined by Guard Thompson, Antoine Chabert, Glenn Rice, and Mark Hughes. This is the 28th consecutive game this group has started for Michigan this year.
A different set for Michigan. They're spreading the court, letting Gary Grant look to penetrate. It's a 1-4 set.
Skip pass, Guard Thompson for 3. He's the man who ignited the Michigan win the other night over Navy. J.R. Reed will ignite a few things.
Boy, you don't want to be under the basket when he does that.
Looked like Moses parting the Red Sea with bodies flying out of the way. 21-16. Gary Grant guarded by Kenny Smith. Nice move along the baseline. The shot won't fall. The tip does. Gary Grant gets it.
Great follow.
Here comes Carolina. Reed will shoot a couple.
That's why when you play Carolina, you must maintain your concentration defensively. You can't go back after you score a basket and give a high five because Carolina's going to be laying it in at the other end of the court.
They'll score 5. Watch the lob underneath to J.R. Reed out of Virginia Beach, Virginia.
Well, he beats Hughes down to the other end of the court. He had no choice but foul him or give him the easy layup. You know, Reed's so strong, he almost made that shot.
Bill, you know this Carolina outfit about as well as anybody. How good are they this year?
I think Carolina has the ability to win the national championship. I think that one thing that is a big concern is Joe Wolf. If Joe Wolf isn't healthy, you're not going to go very far. Because I think that any team at any level, the most important thing is having a healthy team. The other parts of the puzzle fall in after that.
That was Joe Wolf, you saw, who was back in the game with a badly injured ankle. Last year was Steve Hale, who was out. They've had injury problems the last 5 years in the NCAAs. Wolf tips it away.
Another thing about Carolina, if they have the ability to get to the Final Four, they'll look back upon that loss to North Carolina State in the ACC tournament as a blessing in disguise. I think it woke them up a little bit. I think they were getting a little lethargic, and you know, maybe even the coaches as well, because things were going so easily, winning 16 straight in the conference.
Thompson scores and draws the foul. Guard Thompson, a senior from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Interesting, his mother Lil is here today, but his dad Chuck is not. Guard's got a brother Charlie who's playing in the Michigan playoffs back in East Grand Rapids. Matter of fact, that game is just over. Mom and Dad flipped a coin to see who would come to Charlotte and who would stay home and watch Charlie play. Mom won.
Oh, Bob won.
Well, maybe Dad won.
Yeah.
Charlie would say Dad won. It was East Grand Rapids against Forest Hills Northern. Ended about 20 minutes ago.
Well, I've been impressed with the poise of this Michigan ball club. Being down 12-0, being able to stay in this ball game, playing with majority of the fans here. I guess there's 11,500 here. Probably 9,000 here for the Carolina Tar Heel ball club.
That foul on Loy Vaught. Substitution for Mark Hughes. UCLA with an early lead over Wyoming out in Salt Lake City in the West Region second round game. 5 team fouls now on Michigan. J.R. Reed, top of the key. Right side to Jeff Lebo. Good pass. Jump hook.
That's just too easy. J.R. Reed just slid down the lane. Ford never got in any defensive position.
24-21, 12-minute mark of the first half. Billy alluded to the fact it would be a high-scoring game. 8 times this year, Gary Grant for 3. No, 2 rather. And Jabert gets it back to Grant. 8 times this year, Michigan has been over 100. Loy Vaught, rebound Joe Wolf. 6 times, Carolina has been over 100 points.
Joe Wolf is running gingerly on that ankle.
Back to Ranzino Smith, number 33. Lebo fakes the three-pointer by Grant, puts it up for 2. Good pump fake.
Smart play. You know, when he came to Carolina as a freshman last year, Dean Smith said that he was as sound fundamentally as any player he's ever had in Carolina.
Including you?
Oh, you kidding me? He just gave up on me.
And another foul away from the ball.
Now, I think it's to Carolina's advantage if the officials call this close, because they are so much deeper than the Michigan ball club. Michigan might go 7 deep, where Carolina might go 9 or 10.
Matter of fact, Steve Bucknall, who just drew the foul, goes to the bench with Kenny Smith and J.R. Reed. So we'll check this Carolina lineup, because you need to do that every 3 minutes or so as Antoine Jabert gets ready for the free throw. Lebo, Popson, Williams, Wolf, and Ranzino Smith. And for Michigan, Glenn Rice, Gary Grant, Antoine Jabert at the free throw line, Guard Thompson, and Loy Vaught.
Now, the Carolina team is quite a contrast in styles. Carolina would prefer to get the ball inside to their big people offensively. They'd like to go inside and then bring it out. Whereas you look at the Michigan club, they don't have an inside offensive ball game. They're going to rely on the perimeter. You know, the one player that can go inside and hurt Carolina is Rice, but he loves that jump shot as well.
A little pressure applied by Michigan defensively. Ranzino Smith. Loy Vaught backs off. Ranzino says, thank you very much. I'll take the 3.
Carolina during the regular season shot over 400 three-point shots. They shot 45% from the field, from the three-point area.
There's the trap of Carolina. Underneath quickly, Loy Vaught. Turn around, gives it back to Glenn Rice. Grant will take the jumper. And pops in the rebound, stolen by Jabert. Up and in. Antoine Jabert, you love him or you hate him if you're a Michigan fan. And this afternoon, he's been hot. He's got 7 points already.
And he's done the job defensively, matched up against Popson, who he's given up at least 5 inches inside.
Ranzino Smith for 3. of 7 3-point shots now for North Carolina. 32-25, 10 minutes to go. Gibert counters. And here comes Smith on the run. Lebo to his left, pops in farther away. Ranzino lights it up. That's for 2.
Boy, he feels it right now. That was not a good shot. Dean Smith was up yelling, no, no, no. Great shot, Ranzino.
34-25. North Carolina plays the game in time frames. And that's what Billy was talking about. Boy, they'll go on a run, and all of a sudden, zip, it goes from 2 to 9. Now Smith is up. Guard Thompson, off-balance shot. Wolf for the rebound. Lebo guarded by Gary Grant. 34-25. North Carolina leads. The elbow underneath the Popson. Jump hook too strong. Popson with a rebound. Good.
Got to think about another timeout. If Michigan doesn't get a good shot and score here, Bill Frieder's got to get one.
He heard you. That is the second timeout call by the Michigan Wolverines. From 26-23, it's gone to 36-25. Michigan has 2 timeouts left in the half.
Okay.
North Carolina, Verm Lundquist and Bill Cunningham here in the East Region second round game. North Carolina jumped off to a 12-0 lead. Michigan fought back, and then Carolina went on another run. It's been a 12-4 run recently. This is a Michigan outfit, however, that fell behind Navy 14-4 the other night and came back to win. Antoine Gibert. Hughes does a good job, but tosses it right toward the press table.
I thought that was yours. If you really wanted that one, you could have caught that ball.
I was going for it. Bad hands he did. Scott Williams inbounds. Let's check the lineup again. Kenny Smith back in with Steve Bucknall, J.R. Reed, and Jeff Lebo. And Michigan has Hughes, Thompson, Glenn Rice, Antoine Gibert, and Gary Grant. 36-25, 8:40 to go. Reed has 11 points.
If you let J.R. Reed get that type of position, the young man's the best freshman in the country this year.
Glenn Rice, the sophomore, answers for Michigan, 38-27. He the best freshman you've ever seen? I've heard some say that.
Well, I wouldn't say that. You know, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, of course, you didn't have, at that time, you didn't have a situation where freshmen played basketball, so that would be an unfair question.
All right. I withdraw it.
Thank you.
Respectfully. 38-27, 8:07 to go. I know some analysts who would have given us some bombastic thoughts on that. 38-27, 8 minutes to go in the first half. Guard Thompson. Good Gibert for 3. And it's Scott Williams with the rebound.
Michigan looks a little tired. They're not getting back well defensively.
Williams thinks about it. Lebo left side. Now they get it under net. Oh, what a pass from J.R. Reed.
Well, that credit should go to Bucknall. He set a back screen on Scott Williams' man and let him get free underneath for the hoop.
UCLA with a 3-point lead in the first half in Salt Lake City. Michigan trails by 13 here. That's the largest deficit of the ball game.
Well, Gary Grant has got to get himself under control as well as this Michigan club.
Thompson, no. They're getting a little anxious as well.
Oh, there's a 4-on-2. There's the fatigue factor stepping into the picture.
And Thompson with the foul sends Bucknall to the line. Another second-round game just underway. Providence with a lead over one of the great stories thus far, Austin Peay. 3-0. Austin Peay defeated Illinois in the first-round game down in Birmingham. The Governors. Now Scott Williams is out. Popson back in. And Bucknall with the 2-shot foul.
Steve Bucknall, who's from London, England, went to prep school up in Massachusetts. The best defensive player, I would say, on Carolina's front line.
Pressure applied by North Carolina. They have a 15-point lead. Just 3 minutes ago, it was 3 at 26-23. Mark Hughes Mike Griffin has come into the lineup for Michigan, feeds Gary Grant underneath. Griffin, who missed the Thursday night game with the flu, he wears number 20. For three, Lebo. Oh, mercy.
You know, the problem now that Bill Frieda has, he might like to go back and play his own defense, but now he's trying to play catch-up, down 16 points, another turnover.
That's the third Michigan turnover. North Carolina is 6 of 8 from three-point range.
He realized Carolina at this pace is going to have more points than Notre Dame had in the first game, just in the first half.
Earlier this year, Carolina hit 70 in one half against Clemson. Kenny Smith had 27 and a half in that game. It's 48-29, and we've got 6 minutes to go, and Frieda's got no choice. Timeout.
Timeout. This is a play Carolina's been running for 20 years. We see Jeff Lebo with the ball hitting J.R. Reed, but Steve Bucknall sets that back screen that allows Scott Williams open for that easy layup. That's no accident.
Michigan to inbound. North Carolina's on a 26-8 run since the 12-minute mark. 26 points in 6 minutes. Gary Grant gets 2. And for the junior second-team All-American, that's 8 points. 48-31. Bucknall, number 20. And turnover.
Well, good defense by Mike Griffin, who's coming off a sick bed. He had the flu and missed their first game against Navy. They're going to need his defensive effort in there to get for this ball club.
Michigan already with 14 points off the bench, 21 points on three-pointers. That's already. And we've still got 5.5 to go first half. Dean Smith wanted a foul, doesn't get it. J.R. Reed gets a rebound, however. Double dribble? No, foul in the backcourt on Mike Griffin, number 20.
Does he realize he's 6'9", 245, leading the fast break? You know, I'm sure that Dean Smith is not pleased seeing J.R. take the ball out that way and not giving it up to his guards.
Another Carolina substitution. Kenny Smith is out. Ramzino Smith in. Dave Hobson is out. And Scott Williams comes in. And J.R. Reed goes to the line. Reed already with 11 points.
Well, you can tell something about Dean Smith. This past issue with J.R. Reed on the front cover of Sports Illustrated upset Dean Smith very much because he wants his seniors or upperclassmen to get the credit. You have to earn that right in Carolina and many schools. So he voiced his opinion, and J.R. Reed said he was a little embarrassed about that. He wished it was Kenny Smith or Joe Wolf on his ball club.
J.R. has spent the last couple of weeks explaining how he is not Carolina's main man. 50-31, 5:15 to go first half. Back to guard Thompson for 3. Short rebound. Bucknall, foul in the backcourt. Guard Thompson, number 30.
That's a good foul because if he didn't, Scott Williams had an easy layup. But we see everybody on Michigan offensively is trying to beat Carolina on their own. There's no continuity to their set offense. It's one pass, one shot. If this is a team, Michigan all year has been an up-and-down ball club.
Is that a tendency, as you look at the UCLA-Wyoming score, is that a tendency only when you're down by 10 or 15?
It's frustration. Everybody wants to win so badly out there for Michigan that they try to do a little too much. You get yourselves back in games defensively. They've got to get themselves working. They can't allow Carolina at this rate going to score close to 70 points in a half. I mean, they don't do that in the NBA in a halftime.
Hobson back in, Bucknall out. It's a 21-point Carolina lead. 52-31, 5:07 to go first half. And we were coasting along at 26-23 at the 12-minute mark. Thompson, turnover, travel.
Oh, boy, when it rains, it pours. You know, Carolina's on that roll. You know, Michigan's got to try and go into the locker room down maybe 15 points. Because of their ability to shoot the three-pointer, they're never out of a basketball game. But the key to this team is Gary Grant has got to get them going defensively. They're just playing careless defense. They're not getting back well defensively against Carolina. Even after made field goals, they're not getting back well.
Grant on Kenny Smith, J.R. Reed, Ranzino Smith. 52-31, 4:54 to go first half. Winner of this game meets Notre Dame next week in East Rutherford. Reed misses, Williams follows, goes to the line.
That's 2 freshmen right there.
Yeah, they got 3 more years here. Sometimes life ain't fair.
You know, Dean Smith, of course, he's got the Dean Dome down there in Chapel Hill. That only seats 23,000. If you don't like the color Carolina blue, don't go.
That may be the finest on-campus facility for basketball I have ever seen. It's really something. Rebounds now 16 for North Carolina, 7 for Michigan. Loy Vaught comes back in, number 35. Scott Williams will go to the line. And Bill Frieder, Steve Fisher, and the staff look on. You've almost got to be thinking in terms of increments. You know, let's get 5 now, 5 more back in the first 5 minutes of the second half. You got to think that way. Not that it can be done.
Yeah, you know, and you hear coaches, hey, we just want to cut it a little bit and get back into the old cliches, but it's the only way, obviously, you can get back in the ball game. And the tempo that Carolina plays, they're not going to slow up. And they're not going to, until we get to maybe the 5-minute point in this ball game, they're going to be looking to run and gun and keep the pressure on the Wolverines.
Joe Wolf back in the lineup. Scott Williams gets a rest.
Now, Joe Wolf looks like he's limping now. And that, you know, Carolina goes off with a big lead at halftime. I just wonder if Dean Smith will say, you know, Joe, why don't you just sit here and we'll see if we need your services for this ball game.
Antoine Joubert with Wolf. Having drawn him out.
Well, this is as patient as we've seen Michigan over the last 5 minutes.
Loy Vaught, nobody on the weak side to rebound as Gary Grant was caught out. And Ranzino Smith runs it down. Dave Popson, J.R. Reed, turnaround jumper. Michigan's Grant in the transition game. 4:10 to go first half, 54-31. Underneath, Glenn Rice. Rebound Vaught. Nope. Rebound Popson.
And here they come again.
Antoine Joubert looks for the outlet pass after making the intercept. Gets a little sloppy at times.
Well, this is what Carolina wants to do. It's their style. They'll look to trap you. They want to force the tempo. They average over 91 points a game during the regular season, and that's a lot of points in 40 minutes.
A chance for a three-point play for Gary Grant.
Now, that's something I expected Michigan to do more of. To go inside and look to post up Gary Grant, because he's got a few inches on Kenny Smith, and we'll see when he gets down low. He's a very effective player. He can hurt you inside, outside, and he's their best post-up man on this ball club, and you need an inside game when you play against Carolina.
Guard Thompson comes back in now for Michigan, and Mark Hughes gets a rest. And the Carolina lineup has Bucknall, Popson, J.R. Reed, Kenny Smith, and Ranzino Smith. Gary Grant for 3. He's the leading scorer on this Michigan outfit with an average of 22 points per game. And it's a 20-point margin now, 54-34. Grant has 11. Bucknall back to Kenny Smith. Why not?
You know, when things are rolling, that basket looks twice the size. It looks like you could put 5 basketballs inside of it.
Kenny Smith is 4 of 4 from three-point range. Grant off balance shot. They're getting every rebound.
Yep, that bad shot. It's good penetration, but
and here comes Michigan, Antoine Joubert.
yeah, but if you have success going inside, go do it. Nice move by Antoine Joubert. What I mean is the last time Gary Grant posts up, they're able to score. Comes down and looks for a flyer. Have the patience offensively.
Ranzino Smith. Loy Vaught with the Michigan rebound, 57-36, 2:40 to go in the half. It was 26-23 at the 12-minute mark, and then Carolina exploded. Joubert gets his own shot, goes up. Tip, stolen, back to Michigan. Guard Thompson, three-pointer. That got it.
Need a few more of those. Get themselves back into the ball game. And also go into the locker room having a feeling that they can get back into the ball game.
With the next Carolina basket, they will surpass the total number of points Notre Dame scored in winning the first game. And J.R. Reed will have an opportunity to do that. Out west, UCLA leads Wyoming 31-25 first half, and Austin Peay leads Providence 17-13.
You know, I watched these freshmen out here playing like J.R. Reed, and you would say, oh boy, he's got to be an AWP. Here he is playing on CBS National TV. First real test in the NCAA tournament, and he's just responding like he's a senior, and this is the last game he's going to play, and he's got to win this ball game.
First name is Herman. The JR stands for junior. Well, it's 58-39. They've equaled the number of points Notre Dame scored.
Well, I wonder who Digger would like to play.
Idaho State. 59-39, under the 2-minute mark of the first half. Skip pass, Glenn Rice. Jack Kramer has entered the game now. Another freshman from Michigan. That pass from Thompson back to Rice. Nice play.
That's the Michigan team I know. They made 4 passes and a great pass by guard Thompson when he penetrates and dishes to Rice. Now we see penetration, forces Scott Williams to help. Great play. Now that's a team we know they have the ability to do that. We saw them play a great game against Navy. David Robinson scores 50 points for Navy, but they just roll on and they just play an outstanding basketball game.
Coming off, back up.
Matter of fact, this is a Michigan team that really played poorly in a loss at home to Illinois, and then the last regular season game exploded over Purdue 104-68. And as Bill said, played very well in the first round here against Navy. But Carolina has been on a streak. That shot doesn't go. 59-42, so they can cut it to 15.
Okay, and then they got a real shot coming out in the second half. And the reason, as I told you, Carolina is not going to slow this tempo down.
Antoine Joubert. Jumper. Foul. I think they got Glenn Rice. Number 41.
That's who they got.
You know, while they walk to the other end of the court, Bill, I want to mention something about that Navy game. At the end of the game, there was a terrific scene. David Robinson, who is simply one of the best players ever, scored 50, and at the end of the game, David Robinson, the All-American, stood and faced the Naval band. And as they played the alma mater, he was all by himself about 10 feet away from us and sang the school's alma mater. And it was kind of a nice thing to see.
A lot of the Admirals enjoyed watching him do that.
Yeah. Rebound. Loy Vaught. 59-42, 1:14 to go, first half. That'll be Michigan's game down.
And also, he won the Naismith Award as the Outstanding College Player of the Year.
And I would think is a strong candidate for the John Wooden Award.
Oh, yeah. In one word, you'd have to describe him, the way he plays is elegant. I mean, I've never seen a big man with the hands, soft hands. Just, he's such a complete player, and he has such a great attitude. I wouldn't mind being his agent next year.
59-42, under a minute to go. Scott Williams, J.R. Reed. Reed has 15 first half points. Traveling, no basket.
That's another problem you have when you play against Carolina. They anticipate the overplays, and they look for those back doors. Michigan was fortunate that Kenny Smith was called for that traveling violation.
Jim Nance and James Brown back in our New York studios with scores and highlights from second-round action. NCAA tournament on CBS. That's coming up some 35 seconds from now. Guard Thompson. Good pass. Loy Vaught. J.R. Reed with an angry rebound. Ball. Gary Grant got called for the foul. His second.
Got caught with his hand in the cookie jar.
Final 28 seconds of the first half. At the 12-minute mark, it was 26-23. That was after Bill Frieder's team had fallen behind 12-0. Frieder may throw that towel away and go back to chewing his fingernails today.
And we'll have to see if Carolina can put two halves together. As we saw against the University of Pennsylvania in the first half, they walked off the court with a 55-53 lead against University of Pennsylvania, and then were able to come out and explode in the second half. But they're going to have to play another good second half, especially the first 5 minutes, to make sure they don't allow Michigan to get back in the game.
Loose ball batted back in play. Guard Thompson dives for it. Kenny Smith gets it. Three-pointer.
Carolina's playing ping pong with the basketball.
Scott Williams draws the foul.
You know, Carolina's been accused of not showing or displaying any emotion in games, and supposedly that reflects their coach, Dean Smith. But did you see that emotion? Scott Williams pounding the floor, not being able to recover that ball and lay it in, and J.R. Reed slapping his hand, disappointed in his own performance on that series.
Jeff Lebo enters the game now for North Carolina, and Steve Bucknall goes to the bench. 60-42, 13 seconds to go, and Jack Kramer, the left-hander, will go to the free throw line, where he's hitting 84% of the year. He had 3 of 4 from the line in the win over Navy. Gary Grant. Williams knocks it away. Good rebound underneath. The follow by Kramer. He'll get a chance to shoot again.
Now, we saw that there was a display of Michigan really pounding the offensive boards and being aggressive, starting with Gary Grant. This team's not going to quit. You know, they've come too far. Too many people have written them off, either not getting into the NCAA tournament or not being able to perform well, and anticipating them to lose to Purdue in the last game, on and on. So they have the ability to come back.
Well, this was thought to be a rebuilding year for Bill Frieder's bunch, and they're in the tournament with a 20-11 mark. How about next year? They've now got Sean Higgins coming from California, and the two freshmen, Ramil Robinson and Terry Mills, who are sitting out the year victims of Proposition 48. So Michigan could really be a powerhouse in the Big Ten next year.
If not next year, the year after.
Right. Probably more to the point. Kramer draws the foul. 5 seconds to go. Steve Bucknall back in, and Ranzino Smith goes to the line.
This has been as awesome of a first half offensively as I've seen in college ball all year. They've shown the ability to beat you inside as well as the three-pointer.
Gary Grant's three-pointer won't fall. So North Carolina explodes in the first 20 minutes. That's the end of the first half with our score, 60-43. The deficit that Michigan has faced this year was 17 points. Exactly what they trail by now. That was at Indiana. They were down 51-34. The Hoosiers came back to win it, but only by an 85-84 score. So they have come back before.
And that's a quality team.
You betcha. Michigan underneath. Glenn Rice quickly. And the lead is cut to 15. Check the Carolina lineup now. There's Joe Wolf with the ball, number 24. Underneath to Dave Popson, number 35, guarded by Gilbert. Back to Jeff Lebo, who thinks about the three-pointer, joined by Kenny Smith and J.R. Reed.
Now, Dean Smith's got to make sure that his team comes out and strong in the second half.
Rebound by Glenn Rice and Michigan. Gary Grant across the timeline. At the outset of the game, Michigan jumped off, or rather North Carolina, to a 12-0 lead. And then Michigan got it back to within 3 at 26-23. Nice little pass from Thompson to Rice, and it's down to a 13-point deficit.
Well, right off the bat, we see Carolina is not running, pushing the ball the way they did to start the game. Michigan came down, executed their set offense beautifully, getting 2 great shots for Rice.
Joe Wolf looks inside to Popson. Now J.R. Reed. Gilbert goes over to help defensively. Reed gets the jumper.
Well, Glenn Rice is going to need some help inside, especially if J.R. puts the ball on the floor. One of the guards from Michigan are going to have to come back and give that support.
62-47, 18-35 to go in the ball game. This is a Carolina team that was 30-3 coming into the contest. They look underneath for Gary Grant, who's posting up with Kenny Smith. Thompson back to Rice. Here's Grant, turn around over Smith, but the shot won't fall. Rebound, Grant gets it, puts it up strong, might have a chance for 3. basket counts.
With the left hand. Just a great athletic move, taking that ball to the hole. And again, the hustle, and Bill Frieder obviously has done a good job at halftime, having his team come out and play as strong as they have to start the second half.
Gary Grant goes to the free throw line. Bill Frieder looks on, 62-49.
Now we have a 12-point basketball game. Boy, the complexion changes so quickly, and especially when it's an up-tempo game, if you get back into it, there's no lead where you can feel secure with it.
That is especially true this season in the era of the three-point shot.
And we see Michigan coming out, extending their defense. More pressure.
Reed will quiet them.
That's a problem defensively. What do you give him? You try to force him outside on the court, he ends up shooting that one.
Rice's shot short. Gary Grant with a rebound, and the shot is good.
Well, right now, Gary Grant is hurting Kenny Smith inside. That's 2 offensive rebounds he's been able to get for a total of 5 points.
64-52, Grant reach-in foul.
Just a little late. You had to be there a step sooner. If you're going to double team J.R. Reed, as soon as he touches the ball, as a matter of fact, before he gets that basketball, when it's in the air going to him, you have to be back there and double team. Now, that's a one-shot foul. That surprises me. I thought he was in the motion to the hole when the foul occurred.
Second team foul against Michigan. And Kenny Smith inbounds to Joe Wolf. Now Grant goes over to pick up Jeff Lebo. Grant is a terrific defensive player. Gets away with a push. Wolf, long rebound, tip, out of bounds, Michigan ball.
Now at the top of the second half, I said, let's try and cut this lead to 10 points with 10 minutes left in the game. We've got 17-25 left in the second half, and it's only 12 right now, so they could be back at that point within a matter of seconds.
Glenn Rice, guarded by Joe Wolf, who switches off. Nice pass from Grant, off the glass and in. And it's a 10-point deficit. Michigan has come out strong. Lebo, rebound, Gilbert tips it. And the transition game for the Wolverines. Pass to Rice, 8 points. Dean Smith wants timeout. That's a great way to take 9,000 people out of a ball game. 64-56.
We're going to see Carolina loves to double team on the sideline, but this is the perfect way to beat it. Grant finding Rice wide open as he releases and ending up with an easy 8-foot jump shot. Well, Glenn Rice has come out in this second half and really ignited this ball club. He has 8 points to start this second half.
Glenn Rice, a sophomore out of Flint, Michigan. In this half, the Wolverines have hit 5 out of 6. Dean Smith is, or Kenny Smith is having a problem with his contact lens on the bench. And they can't get it properly placed in his eye.
Maybe we can lend him our glasses. Think he could use these?
Between the two of us, it wouldn't help. Now they got it fixed. UNLV defeats Kansas State. They go on to Seattle. Indiana defeats Auburn. They go down to Cincinnati.
As we said before, you know, Carolina has only been able to put a half of basketball together recently. And are they going to be able to come out and capture what they had to start this ball game against Michigan?
Wolf looked for the back door with Kenny Smith. Michigan is on a 13-4 run to open this half. Smith. Rice with another rebound. Glenn Rice, the leading rebounder, with a 9-rebound average per game.
It just appears Michigan has adjusted and has a feeling for the style of play of North Carolina.
Blocking foul on Joe Wolf. That's his first. Notre Dame defeated TCU here by 1 at halftime. UCLA leads Wyoming by 6 in Salt Lake City. And of course, the NCAA tournament will continue tomorrow on CBS. Also have the World Figure Skating Women's Championship tonight, live from Cincinnati, off the head of J.R. Reed. And an update at halftime. Austin Peay over Providence, 46-38. Underneath, Antoine Joubert. A chance now to get it into a 6-point range. Oops. Rice gets it back right in front of us. Gary Grant behind the back. Did it? What a pass. Mark Hughes. And it's a 6-point margin.
What great hustle by Glenn Rice.
Skip pass. J.R. Reed. 64-58 the score. Rebound. Gary Grant. Here comes Michigan on the run. Traveling call. This was the offensive end of the court, Bill.
Not bad. I'll tell you, Bill Frieda didn't teach him that. No one teaches moves like that.
Inbounds play, Carolina. Kenny Smith, 15-4 to open this half. Michigan, Hobson. Softly, and it drops through. 66-58, 15:30 to go in the game.
You see how Michigan's using a little more of the clock, more patience, making that extra, trying to make the extra pass anyway.
Kenny Smith, 3-on-1. Thompson with J.R. Reed.
See the fast break. You know, the beauty of this is the decision Kenny Smith makes. He gives it to the big guy going into the hoop. He had Lebo on his right, but when the big guys run the court, you got to give him the basketball.
Kenny Smith had 11 assists in the win over Penn the other night. Now J.R. Reed with 21 points is at the line. Scott Williams is in, so also is Steve Bucknall, and J.R. Reed at the line.
Joe Wolf appears to be struggling out there on that ankle. I think that's one of the reasons Steve Smith took him out of the game.
Long pass. Loy Vaught got it.
Excellent vision by Gary Grant, being able to see the length of the court through through 8 players and see Vaught wide open at the other end.
69-60 is the score. Welcome those of you who've been watching the Austin Peay Providence NCAA game. Here, North Carolina had a 17-point lead at the half. It was cut to 6. Michigan gets the turnover after the North Carolina treble from Kenny Smith. I'm Vern Lundquist along with Bill Cunningham in Charlotte, North Carolina. And a 15-4 run cut a 17-point halftime lead to 6 points. And now Michigan's guard Thompson has the ball. 14:42 to go in the game, 69-60. That ball to be inbounded by the Wolverines.
I just have the feeling Michigan now, after one half playing against Carolina like that last time, guard Thompson knew Carolina was going to look to double team, so he kept his dribble alive and pushed it to the baseline. There's another double team.
Mike Griffin, ball tipped by Williams, retained by Michigan. Inside, Loy Vaught saves it to guard Thompson. The pass to Grant. The tip and the follow. Bucknall for North Carolina.
Well, that time Michigan did everything right, just couldn't make the hoop.
A chance to go back into double digits now in the lead. Scott Williams shoved Mike Griffin, the freshman. Offensive foul.
Good call by the official. Pushed off with his left arm.
Third foul on Williams, third team foul of the half. Michigan on the court now with Antoine Joubert, number 11, guard Thompson. They're both seniors. Gary Grant, the junior, number 25. Loy Vaught, number 35. And Glenn Rice, number 41. How about the pass underneath? And a nice soft shot from Antoine Joubert.
Oh, they're reacting so well now to the trap because they're getting the good, easy shots every time now.
Michigan trailed by as many as 23 in the first half. It's 17 at the halftime. 60-43. Skip pass, J.R. Reed. Double team. Thompson can't quite get it. Lebo. And they got Loy Vaught.
Well, Carolina was fortunate that Jeff Lebo was going up to shoot that shot. Antoine Joubert came by, and he had nothing to do but to try and throw it in the middle of the pack, and Carolina was a little lucky there.
Out in Salt Lake, the NCAA tournament continues in the West region. UCLA leading Wyoming in the second half. Now Gary Grant gets into it with who? J.R. Reed?
Yeah. You don't fight the big guys.
That's ill-advised.
Oh, yeah.
Ball to be inbounded by North Carolina. Back to Steve Bucknall. Lebo, three-pointer. Carolina has made wonderful use of a three-point shot today. They're 9 of 14 from three-point range in this ball game. Gary Grant, pump fake. Reed doesn't go for it. Grant gets two.
But what they're doing is this: when that double team is occurring out on the court, they're looking to hit the middle, and they have two players, one on either side of the baseline, forcing that defensive man of Carolina to decide who are you going to play.
North Carolina has settled the pace down a little bit now after Michigan was on that 15-4 run. They've kept it about an 8-point margin. Here's Kenny Smith, puts it back to 10. 74-64. Billy, it strikes me you expend so much emotion and energy in catching up that you get to a point and just kind of, whoa.
Well, that's where Bill Frieda's got to read that and kind of recharge the batteries with either a TV timeout or one that he's going to have to call for himself.
Substitution now. Joe Wolf back into the lineup, and J.R. Reed heads to the bench with 22 points. Now Bucknall is also leaving the lineup, so Williams, Hobson, and Wolf, along with Lebo and Smith, for Carolina.
And that's a big lineup Carolina has in there. You know, 3 players 6'10" or bigger, and the biggest player on the court right now for Michigan is Hughes at 6'8". So you would expect that the offensive end of the court, Carolina would like to go inside, and when you have the luxury of having Lebo and Smith that have that great three-point range.
There's an example of the height. Hobson picked up his 4th foul. Joe Wolf quickly over to Jeff Lebo. Dave Popson. Oh, what a wonderful turnaround, but the rejection by Rice. Isn't he playing well?
He said, get that out of here.
Williams. Hobson. Smith for 3. Wolf with the rebound.
Bigger people out on the court, you allow them to walk in and get that position on the offensive boards, you have no chance. And that's what happened that series for Michigan defensively.
You got Hobson at 6'10", Wolf at 6'11", and Scott Williams at 6'10".
This is the 13th consecutive year for North Carolina to be in the NCAA tournament, and that ties a record set by UCLA.
Won the championship in '82 with a fairly decent team. Worthy, Michael Jordan, Sam Perkins. Here's Jabbar. And the shot is good. He'll shoot the free throw. Matter of fact, they beat Georgetown. What were you telling me? The other 2 starters for North Carolina in that game were Matt Doherty and Jimmy Black, and you were saying, how about the starting 5 from the 10 on the floor?
Oh, yeah. Well, you'd start out with Sleepy Floyd at 1 lead guard position. You'd have Michael Jordan, another all-star at the other guard position. You have James Worthy, an all-star in the NBA, Sam Perkins, and you have Patrick Ewing in the middle.
Might have kept you in coaching.
Or you get a lot of people trying to coach that team. I guarantee you that's an awesome... Well, they'd win a lot of championships in the NBA.
Back to 10, 77-67. Michigan got to within 6. They have never led. They trailed 12-0 to start the game, got it to within 3 at 26-23, fell behind by as many as 23, and trailed by 17 at the half. And then the Wolverines put on quite a run to open the second half, got it down to 6. And it's right now 77-67. That Sequoia lineup. J.R. Reed is back in the lineup. Lebo for 3. Scott Williams.
Well, that's one thing Michigan cannot afford to do. Last 2 times down, they've given up a total of 5 points on the offensive boards. You know, and you're trying to battle your way back. You're doing the job with your initial defense, but you must close it off with the defensive rebounding, and they're going to need their guards, especially Grant, to be back in on the boards. That's a foul right there by Jabbar.
Kenny Smith with a steal. Jabbar had almost no choice but to foul him. And the senior out of Detroit.
You'll see this anticipation by Kenny Smith. Gets that hand out there, is able to pick the pocket. He was off and running. Jabbar had no choice.
That is That's the 5th team foul on Michigan, so no bonus. And Joe Wolf comes over to throw it in from the sideline. 79-67, 11-15 to go in the ball game. Winner of this game meets Notre Dame in East Rutherford, New Jersey next weekend. Next Thursday night, as a matter of fact.
Well, Bill Frieder has put Griffin in the game, taking Joubert out, trying to have his team do a better job on the boards.
Kenny Smith for 3.
You know, they're such a tough team to play against because they have the ability to hurt you inside, and they have those three-point shooters. Too quick with that shot.
And Wolf goes up all 6-11 of them to get the rebound. Back to a 15-point margin at the 10-minute mark.
That's the type of play that drives the coach crazy. We saw Michigan when they had the patience and they made that extra pass, they were scoring and they were being effective. Then Grant comes down, no passes, quick shot. Carolina's going to start getting a roll if they don't start playing a little better at that end of the court.
Scott Williams looks inside where J.R. Reed is posting up. Kenny Smith. Scott Williams. There's the roll. Williams with 8. And Carolina by 17. Bill Frieder's team calls timeout. 84-67 after Michigan got to within 6. Sellout crowd at Charlotte Coliseum, this venerable old arena, which is seeing its final game today. The Carolina fans enjoying an 84-67 Carolina lead with 10:07 to go. Game summary thus far: North Carolina 10 of 17 from the three-point line and 22 points off the bench. Gary Grant guarded by Lebo. We'll check the lineups as Grant, Loy Vaught, guard Thompson has the ball now. Joins Mike Griffin, number 20. And Glenn Rice in the Michigan lineup. Thompson. Shot is short. Thompson for the rebound. Tipped. Here's Reed with the outlet pass. Steve Bucknall. Didn't have much left to get up there.
I think he might have gotten hit on the back there, and that's where he lost his footing. But guard Thompson was determined to get that shot up, and it almost appeared like after the timeout, that was a set play looking for the 3.
Reed foul by Loy Vaught, number 35.
You know, watching J.R. Reed the last 2 games, the first time that I've seen him in person play, the last game against Penn, I thought he was very tentative going after the rebounds. To be a good rebounder, which he's doing today, you must attack the ball when it comes off the glass.
That's the 4th foul on Loy Vaught, so he sits down. Wyoming trails UCLA with 12 minutes to go in Salt Lake. 4 points.
Well, you mentioned the bench strength and the scoring. That's the difference in this ball game, because I think it's 22 for Carolina, 3 for Michigan.
Right.
During the regular season, Carolina's bench averaged close to 27 points a game, whereas Michigan only 15.
Kenny Smith goes by Gary Grant, gets the return pass from Scott Williams, gives it back, and look at them quickly move the ball around.
Don't they?
Joubert. I thought you told me he was a defensive gem. That's Steve Bucknall. Glenn Rice.
It's NCAA time. Come out with all the stuff now. Can't hold back.
Ramzino Smith in the lineup for Carolina. Back to Scott Williams. And the rebound for Glenn Rice. 88-69, 8:40 to go in the game. At about the 15-minute mark, Michigan had shaved a 17-point halftime deficit to 6, but then kind of ran out of steam.
I'll be interested to see what Michigan does defensively after they score. Are they going to look to trap?
J.P. Oosterbaan, who has come into the lineup. Score 88-71 with 8:10 to go. Let's send most of our audience back to New York and Jim Nance in the studio. .10 remaining, and Carolina has that 17-point lead. A 60-43 edge at the halftime. Bill Frieder looks on. Williams will be at the line. Substitution now. Mark Hughes comes in for J.P. Oosterbaan, who just scored the basket. And we'll check the Carolina lineup. They've got Bucknall, J.R. Reed, Scott Williams, Kenny Smith, and Jeff Lebo. And for Michigan, Glenn Rice, Antoine Joubert, Gary Grant, Mark Hughes, and Guard Thompson. Dean Smith, the Carolina coach, going after his 35th NCAA tournament win today. Trails only the immortal John Wooden. How about that rebound? Yes, I do see what you mean.
You could hear it. He attacked that ball.
That's 8 rebounds for J.R. Reed.
Now, Michigan's going to have to do something. They can't allow them to just be moving the ball, getting that position, especially at this time of the game. They've got to give it a shot right now. If they don't do something shortly, it's not going to matter what they try to do in the last 2 or 3 minutes of this game.
Bill Frieder looks on as Mark Hughes picks up his 4th foul. Oosterbaan is back in, and Hughes will head to the bench. And for Carolina, Joe Wolf back in the lineup. Hey, he's played fairly well with that injured ankle, don't you think?
He has, but he hasn't been as aggressive looking for a shot as he might normally be. So I think that, you know, that ankle's got to be a little sore. But when you're a senior in a position where you're in the NCAA, this could be your last college game. You don't want to go out with a problem with an ankle that you could not play in this game, the biggest game of your life.
You said something interesting the other night. No college player ever forgets his last game.
Never forget it. You never forget the last moment of it. You know, I'll never forget mine. Well, I'm sorry to bring this up, Dean, but my last moment, I fouled out in an ACC tournament against Wake Forest, and it was a terrible feeling. But
Antoine Joubert for 3.
Big 3. But not many get a chance to win a national title in their final game. So I guess most people have the same responsive memories as I had.
91-74, 7:14 to go. Back it goes to Joe Wolf and J.R. Reed. Bucknall. Kenny Smith. Oh, they're moving the ball crisply.
That's what I was going to say, they're just playing. But you know what they've shown me today? They've shown me the ability to just play at such an unbelievable up-tempo first half. And now in the second half, where the tempo is drastically slowed down, that they've had the patience to really make that extra pass offensively.
Joubert with a 3-point effort and had a defender right in his face. 93-74, 6.5 to go. Back to Joe Wolf. Michigan, Guard Thompson may be playing his last game today and puts it off the glass and in. There'll be no NBA contract for Guard Thompson. Said he's probably going to go into sales with a firm in the Midwest. Foul on J.P. Oosterbaan.
It almost appears that Oosterbaan's in the game if he can't take a foul. You know, one time with Scott Williams way out on the court, and now with Bucknall, who is not really a good foul shooter for Carolina. They just try and do something to get them back in the ball game.
How about this? Austin Peay by 5 in the second half over Providence.
I'll tell you, I'm looking forward to see what this Southwest Missouri State looks like. You know, the team that, I have not had the chance to really see much of, and I don't think many people have, but when you go down there and you beat Clemson, who's a top 20 team, that's really something.
That's part of the fun of the NCAA tournament, of course. There are always Cinderella stories. Last year it was Arkansas, Little Rock, Cleveland State. This year, Xavier until they lost to Duke today.
Now Carolina's in their passing game. What you do is whatever direction you pass the ball in, you got to go away looking to screen for somebody.
Lebo can't get it to fall. Guard Thompson takes it on the run. 93-76, 5:50 to go in the game. Gary Grant followed by Glenn Rice is good. No basket. Offensive foul.
Went over the back of Scott Williams. Now we'll see him coming from the left of your picture. Looked like he pushed off a little bit with his left to get that good position.
Update you on that other score. It's now 54-54. Billy Donovan and the Providence gang tied with Austin Peay.
Now Providence is a team that really uses the three-point shot. They shot, I think they averaged close to 9 3-point field goals per game. So they were :1, I think, in the country in using that three-point shot.
Shot won't fall for Scott Williams. 93-76, still a 16-point margin, 5:40 to go. Michigan team was down by 17 at the half, fought back and got to within 6 at the 15-minute mark, but then ran out of steam. Guard Thompson had 33 the other night. Has been a very quiet presence today, but he dishes off the pass, and Loy Vaught stuffs it in.
Well, he hasn't stopped playing, and no one on this Michigan club has. I think they've got to go out and pick up with a little more pressure. They can't back off the way Gary Grant is if they have any intention of getting in this game. And, you know, it's going to be tough for them to get back in it, but I'd like to see them battle a little bit more and pick them up a little full court, put a little more pressure on them. That was a walk right there by Kenny Smith.
Got away with it. He gets the ball back underneath the J.R. Reed. He has 26 points now.
It's just hard to believe watching a young man, a freshman, that can go to his left, can go to his right inside. He can put the ball on the floor when he's in the post-up position. And we've seen him hit that foul line jump shot as well.
Antoine Joubert, Thompson for 3. 16 points for guard Thompson.
Oh, we got a 14-point game.
95-81. After a 60-43 first half.
Yeah, because right now, the reason I'm saying they got to put some pressure is Carolina, they'll try to use the clock.
Here's Grant with a steal, and that'll be 2 more. Gary Grant has 20 points, just 2 short of his per-game average. Puts up a little pressure on Kenny Smith, and Dean Smith says, let's talk about this. He calls timeout. 95-83 with exactly 4 minutes to go in this East Region second-round game from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Four-corner set offense about, what, 7 minutes ago?
Yeah, not coulda, woulda.
Woulda, yeah. Oh, you know, and just look to milk the clock until they got a layup. And if possible, use up, hey, run out the rest of the basketball game with the 4 corners. That's why I think the 45-second clock is so good. And Dean Smith was a big advocate of getting the 45 clock into college basketball.
Scott Williams is out. Steve Bucknall comes back in for Carolina now. And Lebo will shoot a couple. You know, because Dean is so associated with the 4 corners offense, I think a lot of folks might be surprised to learn how much he did advocate the shot clock.
Oh, yeah, and he loves the 3-point play. Well, you can see the style of play, Carol. You know, as a coach, you're given rules. This is how you're supposed to play. Now it's up to you as a coach to use those and get the most out of it and get some victories for your ball club. And it just so happened there was no clock. If you have a Phil Ford that you can put in the middle, or a Kenny Smith and run the clock out, or the first player that ever ran the 4 corners for him in the middle, we'll see tomorrow, Larry Brown. So, you know, that's good coaching.
Off the glass, Jeff Lebo. 2:35 to go, and quickly back to a 99-86 margin. Mark Hughes, Antoine Joubert for 3. The tip is good from Gary Grant. If Carolina wins, it will be their 7th consecutive trip to the Final 16. 7 consecutive, and of course they won it all in '82. Foul on Gary Grant. That's number 4 on Grant, who's got 22 points in the game. Joe Wolf will go to the line.
Now, one thing watching this game, you know, it appears that Carolina is going to play Notre Dame.
Welcome back, those of you who left us for a little while. We've got 2 minutes and 12 seconds remaining here in Charlotte Coliseum in Charlotte, North Carolina. And the 100 mark has been reached for the 7th time this year by North Carolina, 2nd time in the tournament. Here's Gary Grant, nice little dribble move, and fires it over to Mike Griffin, the freshman, who's short with a shot.
Well, right now, Carolina, if the game ended, is in their first 2 NCAA games are averaging over, well, let's see, it's about 106.5 points at this point. So it just tells you one thing. You don't want to run against this Carolina team. You're going to have to control the tempo. And their next matchup is going to be against Notre Dame, who they lost to in South Bend, Indiana. So it's going to be quite a contest in East Rutherford against those 3 teams.
Joe Wolf leaves the game. The senior out of Kohler, Wisconsin.
And I guarantee you in the press conference, the player Dean Smith praises is Joe Wolf. Could very easily would not have played in this game because of that injury to his ankle, but he just gutted it up and went out there and gave it all for the team.
At the line, Jeff Lebo. 1:55 to go. 102 to 88. This Carolina team scored 113 the other night of winning over Penn. Antoine Joubert may be playing his last game, along with Guard Thompson, who's got the ball now. Glenn Rice for 3. Rebound, J.R. Reed, fouled by Hughes. That's it for Mark Hughes. That'll be his last game of the year.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if those 2 young men don't play against each other down the road, because Mark Hughes is only a sophomore. He's got a lot more left in him for the Michigan Wolverines.
Now Hughes will leave the court. 5th foul. Sophomore from Muskegon, Michigan, replaced by Loy Vaught, freshman out of Grand Rapids. And the backcourt still talking with Bill Frieder.
Well, Bill Frieder was glad to see us here, because they were 2-0, and he was, what he said, 8-1 with CBS.
Yes.
I don't think he wants to see us anymore.
J.R. Reed now has 27 points. Michigan bench, their season will end with a 20-12 record. And this is a rebuilding year for the defending Big Ten champions. They won it last year and didn't have much success in the tournament, losing in the second round. And the rebound comes right back to Carolina. 1:35 to go. Foul on Guard Thompson. Antoine Joubert. Kenny Smith will go to the line.
Whoa, look at that.
4:30 to go, and the Cowboys lead UCLA by 3. And we hope to show you the end of that game. We have 1:36 remaining, and there are 4.5 in that one. And how about this? Austin Peay and Providence notched at 62 with 7 minutes to go. We hope to show you the end of that game as well, as the NCAA tournament continues here on CBS.
Can I leave you and watch the end of those 2 games?
You got to go with me to Atlanta. 105-88, North Carolina leads Michigan. Antoine Joubert goes right, puts it up, too strong. J.R. Reed. Loose ball. Michigan comes out with it. Gary Grant. Good shot.
You know, from a coaching standpoint, Bill Frieder's got to be happy. He knows the game is over with, that his players haven't quit. They're still out there battling, scrapping, doing anything they can. It just shows a lot of pride in what you're out there doing, and that's trying to win a basketball game.
2 seniors on the floor for Michigan. Guard Thompson, Antoine Joubert. Jeff Lebo lays it off for Scott Williams with emphasis.
Well, those 2 players are going to play a few years together. You have to look at Carolina right now. They have 2 sophomores, 2 freshmen, and 1 senior on the court at this time.
Glenn Rice with the answer at the other end. And now it's going to be clear the bench time with the final 35 seconds about to get underway. And Gary Grant, who has another year left for the University of Michigan, fouls out of the game with 24 points. Grant leaves the game, and Michigan makes whole-scale substitutions. Gary Grant with 9 rebounds and 24 points. Now Bucknall is out. J.R. Reed is out.
And wait till Kenny Smith comes out of the basketball game. Then you'll really hear it.
J.P. Oosterbaan getting set to come in now for the Michigan Wolverines. North Carolina goes to the round of 16. They take on Notre Dame next Thursday night in East Rutherford, New Jersey.
What is your feeling about teams such as North Carolina playing right here in Charlotte? We see Indiana playing in Indianapolis in the Hoosier Dome. Syracuse is playing up at the Carrier Dome. DePaul is playing at home. You think that's...
I understand the need to sell tickets, but I think it's an unfair advantage.
I do too, because you work so hard all year to get into the NCAA tournament, and then you're told, well, you got to go play a road game, you know, instead of a neutral court game.
Talked to Gene Cady in Purdue about playing on home courts last year at LSU. Now here comes Kenny Smith out of the game as Carolina goes 31-3 for the year. 22 points, 6 assists. Glenn Rice for 3. 109-95. Ricky Hyatt, number 11. Michael Norwood to his right. Bucknall thrown away. And on the Michigan bench, 2 seniors are out of the game now, having played their final game for the Wolverines. Antoine Joubert and Gard Thompson. As the final 15 seconds wind down, Griffin, Oosterbaan with the rebound. And Loy Vaught puts it there. A 109-97 victory, 12 points for Dean Smith and North Carolina Tar Heels. Bill Frieder and Smith congratulate each other. J.R. Reed with 27 points led Carolina to its 31st victory this year. Now, let's go back to Jim Nance in our studio in New York.
All right, Vern, so North Carolina in that elite group of 16 for the 7th consecutive year. The Chevy MVPs, Gary Grant, 24 for the Wolverines. J.R. Reed, 27 for North.